I've had to drop a lot of content from the Lightbringer series, including maybe my second favorite side plot line. If you haven't actually read these books and you're just going with my summaries, do yourself a favor and pick up these books. So book 3, The Broken Eye, starts out with Karis actually getting stripped of her position as a high officer in the Blackguard, and this is happening because she married the Prism. You can't be in the Blackguard, whose job it is to guard the Prism, if you're married to the Prism. And it's the White that does this to her. The White, who is this great old lady, also puts Karis in charge of her entire spy network. Now, at the same time, Tia, who is Kip's partner, who's been building this really awesome relationship with Kip, and of course they slowly are falling in love with each other and all this stuff. During the same time, she can actually draft Peril, which is an invisible form of drafting, so it's perfect for like assassins and stuff like that. Well, guess who has an assassins group come up to her and try to recruit her? Of course, she does. It's a group called the Broken Eye, or the Order of the Broken Eye. They try to recruit Tia to basically join their ranks. She turns around and immediately tells the White about the Order of the Broken Eye, and of course the White says, actually what you're going to do for me is be a double agent and work for me to spy on the Broken Eye. So now Tia is caught up with these incredibly creepy, horrific assassins, trying to figure out how she could possibly be a double agent for them. Kind of in over her head, but she does a phenomenal job because Tia is a certified badass. Kip actually escapes from Zyman pretty quickly and manages to get ashore and starts walking back to the Chromaria. Of course, during this trip, he's malnourished, losing a lot of weight, dehydrated, and starts tripping balls, and he starts having all kinds of insane visions. When he finally gets back to the Chromaria, he pronounces to them that the Prism is aboard a pirate ship of a pirate named Gunner, and he says he knows this from one of his visions. What's actually happening with Dazen is he's a slave for the first probably third of everything we encounter with him, shackled down below, just talking with another slave who's actually named Orholam, or God, and there's a whole lot of metaphors for this guy actually being kind of godlike, and makes Dazen realize a whole bunch of things about himself, but the end result basically being that Dazen walks away a lot wiser, and we basically have a god metaphor that was really well executed by the author. Now, Liv is sent by the Color Prince to go become the new super violet god by getting the seed crystal, and he gives her this amulet with a black pendant on it to wear while this happens. A member of the Order of the Broken Eye actually comes and warns Liz that this pendant, if you become the god, is actually going to make you a slave to the Color Prince and take away your ability to make your own decision. Now, during this time, if things aren't looking bad enough, Andros Guile, the evil father to the Guile brothers, also becomes pro-Marcus, meaning he basically has as much power as an emperor. He unveils himself to be much younger looking than he previously has been. His halos are almost entirely healed. He's almost looking like he's never drafted red before. And Kip, when he sees this, is flabbergasted. But basically, he and Andros actually start kind of working kind of together, not really in this book. I can't go into too much, but basically Andros makes Kip his bitch for this whole book, and Kip just kind of has to put up with it. Now, the way Andros actually got to the position of Pro-Marcus is through a whole lot of being a horrible person and getting people killed. We really see that Andros Guile's goals are good, but the means by which he obtains his goals are very, very bad. He is the embodiment of the ends justify the means, and if the means are the fastest route possible by killing everyone in your path,
do it.
Now, Andros actually instructs Kip to get him that deck of one of those valuable decks of cards from Janice Borig and use that, and so he can have one of those powerful, valuable decks, and to get him back one that he knows Dazen stole from him before he disappeared. During this time, Tia actually starts attending a Order of the Broken Eye training program where she gets all kinds of their versions of history, where basically the Order of the Broken Eye is a descendant of a group that was formed to fight back when the color gods were actually around before, ruling over their different kingdoms and fighting each other, and this order was used to kind of take them down, but eventually their own founder, a guy named Diacoptes, ended up betraying them while using Black Luxon and having them basically have to go into hiding. Now, they have some leftover magical artifacts from this time. Basically, it's 14 invisibility cloaks from Harry Potter, and they use that to carry out their now assassination attempts. So the Order of the Broken Eye used to be this kind of upfront, powerful policing force, but had to go into hiding when this guy betrayed them. Now, Diacoptes actually formed the original Chromia and Prism, so this whole structure is a descendant of someone who was apparently evil and betrayed the Order of the Broken Eye, but this is from their perspective, so take it with a grain of salt. That's what I did. Now we're going to cut back to Liv, who has a really brief reunion with her father, who she just runs into at a bar. Now, during this reunion, her father kind of slips her a knife and tells her, like, look, you've chosen your lot, but I'm going to try to help you as much as I can. Basically, the end storyline with her is that she's going to become Super Violet God. One of the Color Prince's followers is going to make her wear the pendant while she's going to jump in to do this thing. She takes that knife her father slipped her, kills that guy, takes off the pendant, and becomes the new Super Violet God. But that happens throughout the entire book, but I just want to get it out of the way now. Now, Dazen, through a lot of weird events, is able to escape from the pirate ship. The pirate captain is actually one of my favorite characters. He's fantastic, but I don't have time to get into it or all the wacky things that happen. But basically, he escapes, is in the water, gets to shore, is immediately captured by other people, Iron Fist's crazy sister, and a woman named Irene Marilagos. Now, he is in a very bad situation and ends up being tortured very severely. Basically, they're just trying to get as much information out of him as possible and just torture him because they really, really hate him. He ends up having 2 of his fingers cut off and just is kind of physically broken at this point. It's been a very consistent theme throughout these books that Dazen is an incredibly fit, beautiful man who just kind of looks perfect, and by this point, he is absolutely broken. He looks nothing like he used to. He's missing fingers, he's bedraggled, ill-shaven, and it's kind of just the breaking of a man. Now, Kip actually does end up finding that deck that Andros sent him after. He ends up touching all of the cards. They magically get stuck to his skin. He gets transported to another dimension where he has a super trippy conversation with someone who ends up calling Kip Diacopates, and Kip basically gets in a small fight with the person, is kicked out of that dimension, and wakes up with a magical cloak and Tia standing over him, and all the cards are now powerless and blank. And Tia ends up confessing at this point her entire connections with the Order of the Broken Eye to Kip, and he basically gives her the magic cloak and said, hey, use this to be better a spy. Now, Kip goes to meet with Andros after this and tells him, look, I don't have these cards you want, and I'm not going to be made prison because you said one of the conditions of me being made prison is that I have to get you this deck. And Andros Guile says instead, so I'm not going to kill you, but what you're going to do is you're going to marry Tysis Marlagos. That'll benefit the family, and you'll spy for me on their family. Kip kind of has to agree to this, and he's just, after, it's much more drawn out in the book, but he ends up just kind of agreeing to this situation. He has a very strained relationship with Tysis. They kind of hated each other at first, and then they start kind of getting along. It's weird. Now we cut back to Dazen, and we find out he's actually been sentenced to be blinded by getting hot pokers shoved into his eyes, so that way he can never see any kind of light ever again, even though we do know now he is colorblind, which means he can't draft color. They want to take away his vision altogether. This ceremony begins, and we are following Dazen's inner thoughts at this time, and he kind of is just internally thinking about the fact that he can actually draft Black Luxon, and if he wanted to, he could kill everyone here, because it's a very public, stadium-filled spectacle watching the prism be blinded. And he kind of is just thinking, like, it's basically the way he talks about it, and the whole mentality is just like he could set off a nuclear bomb right now if he wanted to, that he would survive and everyone else would die. Is he going to do it? No. He ends up not doing it. He doesn't want to kill everyone. He has a poker shoved into one of his eyes, and he starts changing his tune. It's incredibly painful. Dazen starts thinking maybe, and there's Black Luxon forming under his fingernails. But at that moment, the Blackguard, led by Karis and Iron Fist, show up and actually free him. They rescue him from being permanently blinded and later on assassinated, which we knew was going to happen to him, but we can't go into that. During this time, Tia is actually following Andros Guile, and she finds out that he's actually contracted the Order of the Broken Eye to kill the Color White. Now, the Color White's a really good person, and we have been following her. She's great, and of course, Tia does not want this happening. So she goes and gets the most loyal members of the Blackguard and Kip to go and try and stop this. They're too late, and the White is dead. And almost immediately, Kip is summoned to the council chambers, where the now more powerful than ever Andros Guile banishes him from the island. Now, Andros is actually doing this so that it makes sense that Kip's going to marry Tysis and all this, but we can't get into that. Basically, this is actually a political maneuver for Andros that makes sense. Iron Fist, unfortunately, the leader of the Blackguard, didn't know that this was actually kind of a thing that was supposed to happen, and so he tries to intervene on behalf of Kip, and immediately in response, Andros Guile removes Iron Fist from being in charge of the Blackguard. This infuriates many members of the Blackguard, but there's nothing they can really do it because Andros Guile is now basically the supreme chancellor, the emperor, the end-all be-all of the Crimeria, and all of his power. To make matters even worse, soon after, Ximon has returned, and he is made Prism by Andros Guile, or Prism Elect. So immediately, once he has power, sends the Crimeria soldiers to kill Kip and his Blackguard platoon before they can escape and leave the island. A small battle ensues, which is one of my favorite battles I've ever read in all of fiction. All kinds of damage throughout all the buildings are in the Crimeria, but Kip and his Blackguard do manage to get away from the palace. Kip very quickly marries Tysis after kissing Tia, and then they are able to successfully escape after Tremble Fist, Iron Fist's badass brother, sacrifices his life by blowing up an entire gunnery building to manage to get away from the soldiers chasing after them. Tia, kind of heartbroken, stays behind so she can keep spying on the Order of the Broken Eye, and it's my theory that she's going to end up pretty much being the entire reason that this world gets saved later on down the road in the series. But moving on, everything's kind of calmed down a little bit now that Kip has successfully escaped and gone off with his Blackguard soldiers and Tysis. Dazen is now back in the city, even though he is crippled, half blind, and missing some fingers, and Karis is back as well. Now, Iron Fist goes to check on Dazen, and he's actually gone missing. While he's there, Green Woody actually Andros's top servant shows up, and basically it's revealed that Greene Woody, Andros's top servant and a very hateable man, is actually the head of the Order of the Broken Eye. And Iron Fist, a guy that we've come to love throughout the series, is actually loyal to the Order of the Broken Eye as well. In fact, Iron Fist even gives Greene Woody a black seed crystal to make a Black Luxon god. Throughout the conversation the two of them have, we also learn that Kip is going to be the next Lightbringer, whatever that means. And Greene Woody pretty much finishes off the conversation by saying we need to either save or kill Kip, and with him, the world. A couple other things cleaning up the book at the end here. Karis becomes the new White, even though Andros Guile kind of tries to have hers not be, and an assassination attempt happens on her. And Dazen finally wakes up, and we get to see from his perspective one last time. He wakes up in the prison that he built for his brother that he thought no one else knew about. He's in the first cell, and someone has rebuilt it. And he's basically alone in the place that he kept his brother for 16 years. That is the end of the third Lightbringer book, The Broken Eye. I hope you guys have enjoyed these summaries so far. I've had a pretty open day today, so I managed to get 2 videos out. Please check out the other one if you have not already. Like and subscribe, and have a great day. Peace.